Hello kiddos, today we are going to divide polynomials by monomial. Last week we did some addition and subtraction. Remember, we only add and subtract the coefficients in the front. We leave the exponents alone and they have to be like terms. Then we moved into multiplication. Well, in multiplication we get to multiply the coefficients, but we also get to add the exponents so that we get to change exponents on multiplication. Well, today we're going to look at division. You've done this before with one term, but we're going to spice it up a little bit on these. Okay, so let's look at our examples. Example number 1. We have 8n squared minus 36n. That's my polynomial, and I'm dividing it by 4n, my monomial. What we want to do is we want to take each part and divide it by 4n. If you remember, we've done this and we called this the butterfly. Only now, instead of having just a number, we have a number and a variable down here. So remember to take each part, 8n squared, and divide it by 4n. Since this is negative, I'm going to put a minus sign here, and we'll have 36n divided by 4n. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. When you divide with the same base, remember to subtract your exponents. 2 minus 1 is 1. Then bring down that minus sign. 36 divided by 4 is 9, and n divided by n will cancel out. So we're left with the binomial 2n minus 9. Remember, this is degree 1, so it's linear, and two terms make it a binomial. Example number 2 gets a little bit spicier. Now look at the numerator. We have negative 14x to the 12th, y to the 5th. That's one term. Plus 7x squared y squared, that's my second term. We're going to take both of these and we're going to divide it by 7x squared y squared. So we're going to make our butterfly. So we have negative 14 x to the 12th, y to the 5th, and we're going to divide that by 7x squared y squared. Now we have a plus in the middle, so I'm going to put a plus sign here, and I have 7x squared y squared over 7x squared y squared. So negative 14 divided by 7 is negative 2. When you're dividing with the same base, subtract your exponents. 12 minus 2 is 10. 5 minus 2 is 3. Now if you'll notice, this is the same thing, 7x squared y squared over 7x squared y squared. A number divided by itself is always going to equal 1, even if it's got some variables in there. So we end up with negative 2 x to the 10th, y to the 3rd, plus 1. All right, looking at number 1, this is what we did at the beginning of the year. We're taking each term and dividing it by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, which will give me 2x. 9 divided by 3 is 3, which will give me a positive 3. So I get a linear, because it's degree 1, binomial as my answer. Now on number 3, I'm going to take each term and divide it by a. But this one has 3 terms. Okay, so a little more than a butterfly here, right? So we have 8a to the 3rd divided by a. 8 is my only number, so it stays 8. But when you divide with the same base, remember to subtract those exponents. 3 minus 1 is 2. Now, when you have negative 2a squared divided by a, the negative 2 stays the same. A squared over a, 2 minus 1 is 1. And then we have 5a over a, which is just going to give me 5. So I end up with 8a squared minus 2a plus 5. Number 5, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take 18c to the 3rd and divide it by 3c. We're going to take negative 21c squared and divide it by 3c. Then we're going to take 3c and divide it by 3c. So 18c to the 3rd divided by 3c. 18 divided by 3 is 6. 3 minus 1 is 2. Next we have negative 21c squared divided by 3c. Negative 21 divided by 3 is negative 7. 2 minus 1 is 1. And then we have 3c over 3c. A number divided by itself is 1. So we've got 6c squared minus 7c plus 1. All right. Let's divide by 5x and 5x. So we have negative 20x squared divided by 5x. Negative 20 divided by 5 is negative 4. 2 minus 1 is 1. Then we have negative 5x over 5x. A number divided by itself is 1, but you'll notice we have opposite signs, so it has to be a negative 1. Negative 4x minus 1 is my final answer. Number 9. Okay, we're going to take this first term and divide it by negative 5x squared y, and then our second term and divide it by negative 5x squared y. So negative 25x to the fourth, y to the third, over negative 5x squared y. Negative 25 divided by negative 5 is 5. 4 minus 2 is 2. And then 3 minus 1 is also 2. Now let's go to the second one. We have 30x squared y to the fifth divided by negative 5x squared y. 30 divided by negative 5 is negative 6. 2 minus 2 is 0. So remember, anything to the 0 power is 1. And 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. So we will not have an x term for this second term. And then y to the fifth divided by y, 5 minus 1 is 4. So we have 5x squared y squared minus 6y to the fourth. Okay, let's go ahead and go down to this larger one down here. These are just more of the same. Okay, we're going to take each term and divide it by 4x squared y squared z squared. We're throwing in an extra variable. Okay, so let's take 28x to the fifth, y to the fourth, z to the third, and divide it by 4x squared y squared z squared. Now 28 divided by 4 is 7. Now let's divide our x's. 5 minus 2 is 3. Let's divide our y's. 4 minus 2 is 2. And let's divide our z's. 3 minus 2 is 1. Okay, now let's go over here and do the next term. We have 8x to the fourth, y to the third, z squared, over 4x squared, y squared, z squared. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. Now let's go ahead and do our x's. 4 minus 2 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. And 2 minus 2 is 0, which cancels out. So we're left with 7x to the third, y squared z for our first term. Since this one's positive, we'll put plus 2x squared y. If you get a variable with 0 for your exponent, remember it cancels out to 0, or it cancels out to 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So multiply 1 times all of this, and it'll remain the same. Now in this bottom section, you'll see it's called a challenge section for a reason. They're a little bit harder than the others. Don't just skip these and not do them. These are the ones that are going to make your brain work. But if you see that there's nothing to simplify up here in your numerator, go ahead and divide these two. We'll have 15 divided by 3 is 5. X squared divided by x, 2 minus 1 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and your x's cancel out. So you're left with 5x plus 2 for this division. You're asked to multiply it to 2x minus 1. This is a binomial times a binomial, which tells me I need to FOIL. First, 5 times 2 is 10. X times x is x squared. Outer, 5x times negative 1 is negative 5x. Inner, 2 times 2x is 4x. And then last, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Add these two together. Remember, when you add, you only add the coefficients in the front. Don't do anything with the x's. You get 10x squared minus 1x, don't put the 1, minus 2. Now in a problem like number 18, you can't go ahead and divide because you have polynomials in parentheses. So you're going to have to distribute here and here, then distribute the minus sign or the -1 here and here, and then divide at the end. On number 19, you're going to have to FOIL and then divide. And then on number 20, FOIL and then divide. Okay, take your time on these. When you're finished, send me your answers and I'll grade them and let you know how you did. Y'all have a great day.